Keeping Coven, assemble! King's demonology book is cool and all, but we need something a little more all-encompassing to talk about all the various magical creatures that inhabit the Boiling Isles. From the Grometheus to the Slither Beast, here's your unofficial guide to identifying every wild beast on the Isles. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and today we're breaking down the Owl House Beast Encyclopedia. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our super nerd sponsor of the day, Kevin Brown, for supporting us on Patreon. Alright, let's set some parameters. There are a lot of beasts and sentient humanoid creatures in Season 1 that I don't have names for and can't identify accurately. Hopefully we'll explore more species in depth next season, but for now, I'm only covering the ones whose names I know for certain. Also, I'm going to be following this up with a demonology video, so if you're like, hey, where's the Snaggleback, where's Hootie, where's the Bat Queen? Don't worry, demons will be getting their own video. If I miss anything important, just let me know in the comments below. That being said, let's get started for realsies. Number 1, Talisman. A talisman is sort of like a witch's familiar. They're carved wooden totems that sit atop a witch's staff and have their own magic supply. Young witches, usually in their teens, carve their talisman from a special type of wood, usually with the supervision of a parent or school teacher. Despite the fact that they're technically objects rather than fully living beings, talismen are still capable of their own independent thought. When they detach from the witch's staff, they're able to act on their own accord, like when Albert ran away from Luz to seek protection from the Bat Queen. Talismen are attached to their staff with an interlock in their foot, but if the staff is damaged or lost, talismen can detach themselves. An abandoned or lost talisman is able to live as any other normal animal. Abominations. If you watched my Owl House Spells video, you already heard me talk about abomination magic. But for those who haven't seen it yet, here's the scoop. Abominations are reanimated humanoid beings made of thick purple goo. Their creators are able to conjure them, and they form crude bodies with semi-sentient minds that are able to perform and understand commands. Abominations are primarily used for labor on the Boiling Isles, but as we've seen multiple times in Season 1, they can also be used in battle. Their sloppy bodies fall apart pretty easily, but the stronger the witch, the stronger the abomination. According to incident number 3421 of Ida's Hexside write-ups, abominations can gain full sentience and rebel against their creators. Grometheus the Fearbringer. Beneath Hexside's School of Magic and Demonics lies a fearsome creature with the ability to shapeshift into their opponent's worst nightmare. I'm not sure how the Grom was captured or how it manages to regain its strength once a year to battle students, but perhaps we'll find out more from the creators in the future. I also have no idea why preteens and teenagers are the chosen ones for this task, but hey, at least they get a fun school dance out of it. The Grom is an amalgamation of a bunch of references. Obviously, Gromfright is a witchy take on prom night, with the added twist that the crowned king or queen will probably pee their pants in sheer terror at some point. Fun! It's also a reference to the boggart in Harry Potter, as well as a play on the name Prometheus, aka the titan in Greek mythology credited with the creation of mankind. So far, the Grom has taken the following forms. For Gus, it would turn into clowns. For Willow, ladybugs. Amity's Sphere was being rejected by Luz, and Luz had some pretty wacky ones. Neckbeards and human souls trapped in cat bodies. But the scariest apparition of all was when it shapeshifted into the form of Mrs. Noceda, angry at her daughter for lying to her and ditching out on summer camp. Yikes. Hell hath no fury like a mom that's been duped. The Slither Beast. Living atop the highest peak of the Titan's Knee, the Slither Beast only has one rule. Don't bother them and they won't bother you. Of course, if you do bother them like Luz did when she accidentally launched a fireball at one, they'll drag you back to their lair, immobilize you with sticky goo, and eat you. Luckily, Luz is able to rescue her friends from its clutches, and Ida forces it to take a snooze with a trusty sleep spell. Griffins. Normally, griffins are depicted as having the hindquarters of a lion and the forequarters of an eagle, but on the Boiling Isles, griffins are half feline, half pigeon. They breathe spider breath and can grow to be the size of a house. I don't think griffins eat people in this universe because otherwise Skara would be a total goner. They are, however, kept by schools, like Hexside, as mascots to symbolize power. Viney also has a pet griffin named Puddles who acts as her lab assistant in her beast-keeping/healing studies. Elves. Elves on the Boiling Isles are pretty similar to the human realm's lore. They're diminutive in size with effeminate features and pointed ears. They also seem to have very strong emotions like this little dude. Fairies. Fairies on the Boiling Isles are also pretty similar to what us humans typically know about them. This particular fairy definitely feeds on human skin though, so you gotta watch out for tiny flying Hannibal Lecters on the Isles. We also know that Basha has pet pixies, which I consider to be in the fairy-type family. Trash slugs. Although this beast is called a trash slug, it actually resembles more of a leech. Its cylindrical body tapers to a large gaping mouth surrounded by tentacles. Trash slugs are born from orange eggs and are ravenous upon hatching. As long as they have an unending food source, they can continue to grow in size. The only thing that can shrink them is a healthy dose of salt. It doesn't kill them like real slugs, but it does make them small. As they eat, all of the trash and debris they consume stay inside their bodies for life. This is why Ida considers them such treasure troves. Split one of these bad boys open and you're bound to find some cool stuff. That being said, a lot of these items seem to come from the human realm. Are trash slugs somehow traveling between realms without the use of portal magic? How else are they eating human trash? Hopefully we'll find out next season. Before Bellows does, that is. The Gildersnake. A fantasy creature within a fantasy series, the Gildersnake is a main antagonist of the Azura books that Luz is obsessed with. The Good Witch Azura faces down the Gildersnake in the chapter Luz is reading in episode 1. Odabin the Bookmaker. Odabin is the protagonist of a children's storybook available at the library on the Isles. In his book, he's depicted as a friendly, docile rabbit looking to make friends. However, after the wishing star passes over the library, Edric and Emera encourage Luz to draw on him and make him come to life. The angry eyebrows they give him cause him to become aggressive off the pages of the book, and he violently tries to force Amity, her siblings, and Luz to be his friends. Luckily, Luz is able to erase the marks she put on him and turn him back into his normal, fluffy self. Giant Ratworms. When King finds himself in Luz's teen body after Ida's body swap spell, he takes full advantage of his newfound human form by becoming the new, most popular person on the Isles. While trying to prove how cool he is, he engages in a race with Basha. Their vehicles? Giant ratworms. Half rat, half worm, and 100% ginormous and gross. The Detention Monster. After Luz's first venture sneaking into Hexside as a human, she's banned from campus indefinitely. But when Gus needs her to solve some disagreements on human artifacts for the Human Appreciation Society, he brings her back, telling her that the ban was lifted. Of course, the ban was not lifted. In fact, Principal Bump beefed up the school's security system with roving eyeless detention monsters who can literally sniff out trouble. Their job is to escort kids who misbehave to detention by snagging them with long hooks. The trouble sniffers drag the kids to the detention room, where a tentacled, toothy, eyeball-riddled monster that looks just like a sarlacc pit lies beneath the floors. Apparently, you can just straight up die in detention, because there's definitely a skeleton or two wedged in between those teethers. Large, mass snakes shoot out of the teeth pit, and their prehensile tongues grab students and suck them in. They're then absorbed inside the tented tongue and brainwashed to be good students. It's not clear how long they're left in there, but hopefully not until they literally die. Animal Control. Previously known as the Demon Hunters, Animal Control on the Boiling Isles is a group of 3 humanoid monster dudes who perform magic to capture magical creatures. They try to steal the Owl House during the Moonlight Conjuring because they believe the entire house to be a demon. After their failure, they're demoted to catching animals, and they're called to collect the Owl Beast when concerned parents report Ida. The Cat Lackey. I didn't happen to catch this guy's name, so let me know if you know what he's called. Ida and Lilith both obtain a map from him that will supposedly lead them to the Bloom of Eternal Youth, but when they get there, they realize that the whole thing was a scam. The bloom never even existed, and the cat only wants to suck their life force out of them to satiate his unending hunger. Thankfully, his bark is a lot worse than his bite, and the Clawthorn sisters easily defeat him. Pinyin of Pinyin Publishing House. Pinyin is a literary agent that works for his own publishing house. Although he claims to be able to spot talent and make star writers out of his clients, Pinyin is extremely picky. If he doesn't like your sequel, he'll literally put you into a writer's block cube and force you to do rewrites. Failure to succeed and satisfy him with your work will result in Pinyin using the box to shrink you into a cube. Don't worry though, homie gets what's coming to him. Toxic creative advice is defeated once more. The Greater Basilisk. The Greater Basilisk that shows up disguised as a school inspector at Hexside is vastly different from the one we know from Harry Potter. For starters, it has the ability to shapeshift into a passable witch form to trick its victims. Its stare doesn't turn you to stone, but it does suck the magic out of your body to feed itself. The more spells you cast at it, the stronger it becomes as it absorbs the magic. Luz was able to defeat the basilisk by basically doing the Heimlich maneuver on it to make it barf up everyone's magic. Flyclops. A flyclops is a fly-spider hybrid with one eyeball. Willow is able to lure one over to her and Gus with a piece of cotton candy when they got shrunk, and the flyclops acted as their sky taxi while they tried to flag down Luz. Winged lions, unicorns, and griffins. In Tybalt's Tiny Terror Theater, he's shrunken down a winged lion, a unicorn, and a griffin. They're exactly the same as their full-size counterparts, just extra itty-bitty. Hillbug monster. This guy pops up as one of the standout nameless beasts that Luz encounters on her first day on the Isles. He wears a little bowler hat and apparently keeps his girlfriend in his mouth before he kisses her goodbye for the day. Eyeball sea monster. When Luz wakes up in the Owl House for the first time and looks outside her window, this waves back at her and says good morning. He's some kind of horned, eyeball-covered octopus, I think. Dragons. In episode 1, we see a dragon flying across the sky until it's ripped out of the air unceremoniously by a giant hand. Seagulls. The demon realm has obnoxious flying beach rats too, but the seagulls on the Isles definitely look a lot different. They have tiny skulls covered by turtle shells with wings that sprout from the top of the shell. Human souls trapped in cat bodies. These have to be the most terrifying creatures I've ever seen, and they're not even real. Luz totally made them up, and Edric and Emera and the Grom brought them to life. I wonder why Luz chose to be afraid of humans trapped in cat bodies specifically. Like, isn't she worried about a human soul getting stuck in a pug body? School spirits. Hexside school spirits are ghosts that, you guessed it, cheer on the students during their Grudgeby matches. They do seem a little bummed out to be the main pep rally, but whatevs. The Owl Beast. I think we all know the history of the Owl Beast pretty well by now, but just in case, here goes. When Ida and her sister were in high school, Lilith cursed Ida one night when she was sleeping. Lilith wanted a spot in the Emperor's Coven more than anything, and she knew that if she fought Ida for the spot, Ida would win because of how much hard work she put in. She gets the curse from a salesperson at the night market, thinking that it would only zap her sister's powers long enough for her to win their duel. Instead, it turned Ida into the Owl Beast permanently. The only thing that can prevent her from changing is a golden elixir, but as time goes on, the elixir works less and less to keep the curse at bay. When Ida is the Owl Beast, she's a feral creature, hunting for small animals to snack on. She can attack and become violent, but hasn't tried to eat a human or anything like that. Her food is digested and barfed up as an owl pellet when she returns to normal. As the Owl Beast, Ida can fly and has super speed and strength, but is extremely sensitive to light. She also has an attraction to shiny objects, as she does in her human form. Worm monster. This worm monster was teased so heavily in the intro, I was wondering when it was finally going to show up. Finally, we get to meet this beast in the Emperor's lair during the season finale. The monster tries to swallow Luz whole, but she's able to defeat it with fire glyphs by exploding it from the inside. These are all the magical creatures that I could find in Season 1 of the Owl House, but I'm sure I missed a few. Let me know what they are in the comments below, like and subscribe to Nerdwire, and stay tuned for my demonology video next.